So we've been in Charlotte all week long. It's incredible. The whole industry has really been super supportive for NASCAR 25, and we've had 8 or 9 drivers trying the game, and you know, to us it's just another step in the process of making a great game, right? You want to get their feedback, you want to implement some of the things that they give you pointers on. So enjoy some of the clips of these guys playing the game and just kind of what we went through this week. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We just got done playing NASCAR 25. I would say it's probably the most realistic Xbox PS5 game that I've played. I grew up playing all the old games through my childhood, and it was pretty awesome to be able to kind of get on again, and looking forward to when it comes out.
I mean, the physics, I used to play a lot of games, and NASCAR games, and the physics on this game is above and beyond all of them. So initial thoughts are really good.
I was blown away by how realistic the game was, and just going through the couple tracks that I ran, like seeing how true the repave was at Iowa, and the new asphalt lines up with what we have in real life. The grip levels were accurate, impressive.
It's really cool, like seeing myself in a video game. That means a lot for me, because like I never imagined like saw me in a video game, and made me feel like the first time when I jumped in a car, it was the same feeling.
Well, the first time seeing myself was, I mean, you dream about those moments, right? I mean, growing up and playing video games, like I said, 2K or anybody, and playing as LeBron James or doing something, right? You want to take your my player to the top of the, and have the overall, the 99 overall, you know? So now I get to do that for myself. I'm gonna be on that game 24/7.
For the first time ever, there's a whole new level of authenticity to the NASCAR game with the actual track scans and the car physics, which is going to bring fans closer to the sport.
You can definitely tell that iRacing had a significant impact on this game, from the driving characteristics to the audio, the visuals. You can tell the footprint that iRacing had on this platform, and it's a great thing because it just shows how next level video games can be.
iRacing is huge, so just the opportunity for it to go to a game console is also just a great opportunity for people that love racing or just trying to do it for fun and maybe trying to get into it.
I think the first game that I probably played was NASCAR 05. Got that game, actually had it on PSP at the time, and then played it on console as well, so that's really how I got started, and my friends said that I took the game way too seriously.
As a kid growing up, I was a big-time NASCAR video gamer and would love getting to explore all the different tracks and see what they're about, and going to Pocono and realizing it's a triangle, and how Loudon, New Hampshire is really flat, and just seeing all the variety of different racetracks.
This game, from the driver's perspective, is what it needs to be. I mean, myself, in my own career, there's just that energy level when you walk into the racetrack and you hear the engines and practice starts. There's just that feel that you get when you get in your race suit, you hop in the truck.
I mean, I'll never forget it. My first ever time at Daytona, when I rolled into the garage and they put my car on 4 jack stands, and they raise up the hood, and all you hear is the guns going on the tires, the guys working on the car, the spotter crew chief talking. Like, it took me away because it felt like I've been in that situation before, and it actually was like I'm actually living this moment that I played in the game a million of times. So now to be in this game even more elevated, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's definitely huge.
I can't thank these drivers enough. This week has been super special for all of us to come down here and shoot this content and get their feedback. We've had a long relationship with a lot of these guys, and I'm so excited. Even ones we've just met this trip. The passion that they have and the excitement that they have to get this game out and in the market is super exciting. In case you haven't heard, October 14th, that's our launch date. So we're gonna open pre-orders, and we're gonna get you that gameplay trailer that you guys are all begging for about a month before. So stay tuned, we got a lot more information coming on the game for NASCAR 25.
Visit NASCAR25.com for more information on the game, and make sure you follow us on social media at NASCAR25Game.
This is iRacing.
The road to a championship enters its third day. Welcome back to the Crandon Championship qualifiers here Thursday morning. This is our first of 2 splits, and we, after the action-packed 3 days, or 2 days, we enter our third day here in our first session here on Thursday morning. My name is Keenan Kuzin. Welcome to Crandon International Raceway, the home of all of this week's festivities, as we enter again after a really exciting first 2 days, our third day as we near that Saturday cutoff for our Super Sessions. It's been a heck of a battle, especially yesterday. We had 2 really close races we were able to broadcast for you, one that was down to the wire, and an absolute slugfest last night, as we'll get into that in a little bit later before we get into today's broadcast. But before we get there, let's go over what this is, what our special event calendar is looking like, as we're nearing the end of our summer swing here and entering the fall calendar for our special events. Just finished up with Knoxville Nationals, of course, and we have our special event here. And a couple of notable names there. Obviously, we're going to have the Bathurst 1000 for those who are mountain enthusiasts. Looking forward to that as well. The MX 500 race as well. Always a classic, one of the most fun races you could jump into, one of the most fun special events, one of the most accessible special events outside of this one, of course. And for our friends in dirt, Chili Bowl in December and everything in between, SCCA runoffs are always a great way to try to do a lot of things quickly. For those who have not tried it, I think it's one of those that you should be considering. And of course, how could we forget the Production Car Challenge to round out our calendar in December. And again, for those who are unfamiliar, this is a week-long broadcast, a week-long event here at Crandon. It started Tuesday night. We had 2 races last night, so we've had 3 of our semi-preliminary races. And Josh, you weren't here last night in the commentary box, but you were watching, and it's supposed to get better this week, but I don't know how they're going to top last night.
Last night, the best descriptor to use was a slugfest. I mean, it was everybody that was hitting each other. They were trying for every little bit of real estate they could on this track. Dane Culver making a little bit of enemies on the track, and we talked yesterday, are you willing to make enemies now just to face them again later? Dane Culver said, you know what, we came here to race. We are gonna race as hard as we can, and I think that's gonna carry over into today, tomorrow, and the Super Sessions on Saturday. But this morning's top split looking already like it's a good field of drivers ready to go racing on the first race of the day.
Yeah, again, I think you just had those points. We'll let you know the updated points here in a second as we enter our 4th event of the week. We're going to have 3 more after this one, which will decide the Super Sessions. And then those Super Sessions, of course, we'll be able to decide our champions last year, Nicholas Ashley and the man himself, Dane Culver, taking those top steps on the podium in 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. respectively. And Josh, it's a little bit of a travel journey to get to those Super Sessions. Why don't you take us through how we got there?
Yeah, still a long way to go with 2 races today and 2 tomorrow to qualify for our top splits of the open sessions. But right now, we're in those preliminary races, open to everybody with a Dirt Road D 4.0 license and above. 2 time slots per day, 11 a.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. Eastern time. Drivers compete to earn points throughout the week. Those points scored by finishing position combined with your strength of field. So this top split is going to pay more points than the lower splits, and then 2 time slots available to any licensed driver. The same session formats as the previous for the Super Sessions. The splits determined by their points scored throughout the week, and then after that, it is so sorted by Dirt Road iRating. So think of the iRacing Indianapolis 500, just instead of qualifying times, we're taking combined points throughout the week.
Exactly, and you don't have to participate in any of the races to be able to race in the Super Sessions, but of course, it gets you one step closer to be able to get into those Super Sessions in that broadcast, that top. Speaking of broadcast, this is how we started our broadcast of races Wednesday morning. Obviously, we missed the Tuesday night race, but we jumped into Wednesday. A little bit calmer, Josh, than what we had last night, but it wasn't without its eventful racing.
Still Evan McFarland and Crystal King that were up at the front of the pack, and Shattuck trying to get to the inside there, but could not make it happen. And this was what we were seeing, I think, a little bit more in the evening split. It was moves like that, just trying to use that truck to their advantage. And Crystal King tried all she could to get by Evan McFarland, and she did for a couple of corners. But McFarland back to the inside, got around the outside at Calamity Corner. King tries to get back on the inside, and by a centimeter, it was Evan McFarland walking away with the morning win.
And here's the big one, the fight on Wednesday night. I don't know what everyone put in their dinner at last night, but it was about 5 laps of what you expect for short course racing here on iRacing. And then if you watch that number 1 machine again, your defending champion from last year, big names in this race as well, Connor Berry, who's very experienced in this track. This move right here, everybody was willing to play nice, and then it all kind of just kicked off from that point onward.
And you can see just all of the beating and banging. This is for the top spot. Winkler went wide. Dane Culver back to the inside. Connor Berry slingshots his way through the middle of 4 wide. Drafkin got turned late, but Sean Winkler walked away with the victory. A very, very happy number 3 truck at the end of the night. So Winkler walked away with a win, and now holds your top spot when it comes to the point standings. Dane Culver, Connor Berry, Zachary Drafkin, and Crystal King, the top 5. Remember, you're looking around that 20th place right now. So Zach Blanche, Cross Kirchmeier are on the bubble when it comes to making our top split super session, if all 20 were to make it for the 11 a.m. and 9 p.m.s on Saturday.
As you explained, Josh, the better you do in a higher split race, higher SOF race, the higher chance you have of making that. So our top 5 are kind of our usual suspects. We should be able to see them on Saturday. But as you pointed out, I think 15th on back, that Jeb Boodle area, and on backwards, Matthew Linda and those guys are really going to have to focus on showing up to as many splits as they can and getting into higher splits and higher SOFs to guarantee those points to be able to make it into the higher splits of the Super Sessions. Again, everyone gets to race on Saturday, but everyone wants to make the one with the cameras.
Well, let's take a look at this Crandon Raceway, because it is the ultimate driving track for off-road racing. The Land Rush start 10 wide on the opening row and 10 behind them in row 2. They slingshot themselves down into Potawatomi turn 1, and then you can see the stretch of the outward. Once you go into the arena, you have very tight corners, very technical corners. The most wins from last year was Crystal King. She hasn't gotten one yet this year, but she has competed in every race we have seen so far, including this morning split that we're about to take a look at now.
Yeah, and again, 3 really trouble areas you're going to want to keep out for. Obviously, Potawatomi turn 1, that big right-hander off the Land Rush. That's where the race can be won or lost. Trucks can pick up big damage if there's issues there. Gravel pit, the first big hairpin before you get to the traditional start-finish. That's banked. You'll see a lot of big sliders and 4 wide and 3 wide moments. Calamity Corner heading into the start-finish, and of course, Cowboy hairpin. That's where it all kicked off last night, and that will not be the last time we see the gloves come off in Cowboy Corner.
Let's take a look at exactly what we're driving as well. These off-road Pro 4 trucks, 4-wheel drive, 410 cubic inch V8. These things crank up to 900 horsepower with a 6-speed sequential transmission. No assists on this thing, and they weigh about 10 pounds per cubic inch of engine, so roughly about 4,100 pounds, which when you think about 900 horses on 4-wheel drive, Keenan, that is not a lot of weight to push this thing into the ground. Those coilovers and those shocks are going to help with the travel when going over these jumps, and Crandon's got a couple of them, a couple big ones and a couple whoops sections to keep these drivers on their toes.
They're big, they're nasty, they're made to throw elbows, and don't get used to how this truck looks, because they will not look like these when we conclude our race. There will be some panels flying left and right. Speaking of which, yesterday he didn't quite make it, but today we have our live correspondent, our man on the ground, our man in the dirt rather, Chris Leone. You made it to top split, brother. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels pretty good. I mean, better to be in the broadcast split and be one of the slowest guys out here than have the pressure of being one of the faster guys in the second split, I guess. especially because I did not have the luck yesterday, if you tuned in. But we're seeing what we can learn. I had Zach Blanche up behind me, and Zach is one of the fastest off-road dudes that I know. Raced with him a ton in different leagues, including my own. So I just tried to follow him for a couple of laps and learn some things, and picked up a couple of tenths and a couple of corners from him. So thank you, Zach.
And Zach sitting on that bubble of the top 20. And again, you were in second split yesterday. I know I had some comments about some particular drivers. So are you expecting it to be rougher now that we have 19 trucks out here in top split?
Well, I need to be able to keep up with the roughness, frankly, to I think be subject to some of it. But we'll see what I can do in qualifying. I have dropped a second since I switched from this rig, or from my home rig to this one. But some of the times that these fastest drivers have been able to pull off, I am just not in that stratosphere. I could probably use some coaching.
Chris, before we let you get into qualifying, sorry to cut you off there. Unfortunately, you guys don't know if we don't cut Chris off here, we'll just keep talking.
Sure will.
Before we let you qualify here, big news yesterday for us over here. iRacing Arcade, finally the wraps came off of that. Well, a little bit of wraps came off of that. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what we can expect here in the next coming days?
Oh, absolutely. iRacing Arcade, just cool, different adventure for us. We've partnered with the folks at Original Fire Games who did Circuit Superstars, which was an incredible game. We've kind of just taken the iRacing experience, all of the licensed partners, cars and tracks that we have, and we've been able to adapt them to that sort of art style, that sort of driving. It's going to be easy to jump in, pick up and play, and challenging, but very rewarding and very fun to master. I know we've had all sorts of time trial battles among staff behind the scenes, and everybody wants to beat Steve Myers, and Steve's pretty fast. I am not there yet, but I haven't had the time to really get in there and try to beat him on those internal leaderboards and testing, because I've been focused on this. So once we get into Sunday, my march up the staff leaderboards begins.
As a big fan of karting superstars too, have something to play in between sim racing, it's going to be a welcome addition to the iRacing family here at iRacing Studios. We ride along board with Chris Leone. Now we're going to let you do what you got to do as we ride along board with the 17, walking through his first qualifying lap, going really wide. Josh in Calamity Corner to get that big swing. You'll see that on the first qualifying lap from a lot of these drivers to get that momentum to start off their lap.
We're on board with Chris as he works his way on through Sector 1 here at Crandon. Very tight corner coming out. This is turn 9, Argonne Corner. To slingshot yourself onto this straightaway. Now, it is not exactly super straight and does have a little bit of elevation change to it, but they're coming down to the Cowboy hairpin. This is going to be the Calamity part of this track. Don't let Calamity Corner confuse you. That's not the only place these drivers are going to be beating and banging. They're going to be beating and banging in Cowboy, too.
Yeah, another thing we didn't talk about in qualifying yesterday is you can use the berms in these trucks to help slow it down and rotate it. However, much like in road racing, if you go a little bit too far off track or get some contact, that is a 0x and that will invalidate your lap. Here in Bark River over in the Dirt Road Road, two tracks that are infamous for that, especially kind of going into Cowboy Corner. You used to be able to really ride that berm and you kind of can't anymore. Going into this next bank corner, Josh, this is the other place where you're going to see a lot of action. Kind of an opposite line to what you're used to seeing in road racing with almost a V motocross style engine.
And you can see he got out of that corner real well. Up and over the flyway, jumping into Calamity Corner to finish the lap. Let's see where Chris ends up. Crystal King currently fastest at a 1:14.8. That is a great lap from Crystal King. What does Chris Leone put down? Oh, unfortunately, 6th. 1:17.1.
I think he's going for his second lap here, but Chris, 1:17.1. You're about 2 seconds off the pace. Did we not have our Wheaties this morning? Are we lacking some carbs? What do we need here to find those last 2 seconds so you go to your third lap?
Probably a lot of coaching and a lot of time, because that's the best lap I've ever turned here.
You know what?
like I said, some of the folks on here, the real experts, the folks who have got 7,000, 8,000, even 9,000 iRatings, they just have something in them that, frankly, as a promoter first and a sim racing driver fifth, I do not. It's just kind of an honor to be sharing a track with them in a broadcast split. So I'm just going to enjoy the ride. The fact that I'm in here is a win as it is.
I think the words you're looking for is free time. a free time, seat time, as we ride along board now, as with one of those that is towards the top of the leaderboard, Drake Matag. If you are familiar with short course racing here in iRacing, you know who Drake Matag is. And to your point, Joshua, is a 14.8 for Crystal King is your current pole time. That is the fastest pole time that we've seen in the last 3 days.
That was a burner of a lap from Crystal King. I think that's going to get the notice of everybody in this race that Crystal King has come to try and win this race. 2 minutes remaining in qualifying, last handful of laps coming in. Here is Crystal finishing up on another lap. I believe that'll be her last one for the 278. Laying down that 114.8 is just an incredible lap for the 278. Now, here's the thing. She is going to start on pole, but she's going to start alongside 9 other trucks on row 1 of the Land Rush start, 10 trucks wide. By the time they get down into Potawatomi turn 1, it could be very, very different on where she is positioning herself for that.
She's got all that motocross experience that she has in real life, and you see that really in these banked corners. So it will be 3 laps. She's on her 3rd lap here, which is kind of more traditional for Crandon Championship. You get 1 lap to change tires, and then your 3rd lap to go for that big wide arc to start another one. It'll be 6 laps in the heat, 10 laps in the feature. No yellows, no nothing. So if you have an incident off of turn 1 on Potawatomi, which is all common, you talk about Crystal King, she got put in the fence last night in Potawatomi turn 1. That's basically all you can play for. But that heat race basically is a qualifying race that sets you up for the feature. And Josh, big misconception here of qualifying doesn't matter in Crandon. It absolutely does. If you've ever started between 5th and 10th in the front row or the back row, you will know that that's not true.
We also saw those back row drivers last night and yesterday going down into Potawatomi turn 1. If you're on the 2nd row, you're just going to be in, I like to call it in the soup. I mean, you're just in the middle of the pack with everybody around you, nowhere to go. You need to be able to be on that front row to have a better positioning going into turn 1, just so you can get out of the pack and make your way up towards the front, and then you're just going to be stuck in the middle with all of those mid-pack battles we've been seeing all weekend long.
As we ride along with Ray Baudoin now, and looks like he's in a little bit of a humid environment here. Maybe got to clean the lens off the camera a little bit, but again, just starting, you're going to be able to tell who's on a lap and who isn't. Another driver, really excited to see Daniel Solo here. One of the, I believe he's driving out of Norway, one of the European drivers we're used to seeing in the short course races. Josh, this big difference in lines here too. You'll see some drivers run up really high, some drivers run up really low in that 2nd corner, and that's something we'll have to talk about going into the feature with how this track wears. Crystal King ends up getting the pole with a 14.8, and again, ladies and gentlemen, that is our fastest pole time of the week so far, followed by Sean Smith, Drake Matag, Scott Merrick, and Brody Descher, as that rounds out our top 5.
Zach Blanche, Ray Baudoin, Don MacArthur, Danny Solo, and Brandon Barnhart going to round out the remaining of that 1st row. And then here's everybody relegated to the 2nd row on the Land Rush start. Austin Schieber, Mike King, Ryan Mayer, Miles Morris. We saw a good bout of him yesterday. Wade Sheedy, Chris Leone, unfortunately back there, P16. But Daniel Maymead and Baxter Truchet are going to be rounding out 18 trucks going green here, Keenan. Back on the Land Rush start. This is, I think, the biggest field we've had. I forget the exact number from last night, but 18 drivers, going green and running down the Land Rush start.
So the one name we did not see there is the number 1 truck of Dennis Michelson, who is not, maybe just didn't get a qualifying time in, but that would be the 19th truck in our field. As you can see here, here is the best part about Crandon. You have 19 beasts waiting to pounce on Potawatomi turn 1. Welcome to Land Rush starts, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time, it is a spectacle like nothing you've ever seen in iRacing before. It is 19 drivers all fighting for position. And Josh, as you said, some of those drivers on that back row could make a jump to try to get something to happen. It all depends on what kind of calamity we get in turn 1.
And it's only telling what we're going to get when we get down into Potawatomi turn 1. You can see just how wide this is. It is akin to a supercross or a motocross start, standing start, everybody next to each other, and you're just looking over at your opponents, revving those engines, just getting ready to go. And once that green flag flies, it is going to be pedal to the metal, full throttle over those whoops down into turn 1. This is as exciting as it gets.
Let's wait for Barney to give us the go-ahead. We have all the lights on, ready to send him for our first heat race of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chaos. It's lap number 1 here from our first heat race in Crandon.
Here comes the send into Potawatomi, turn 1. Crystal King has the best line to the inside. Does she clear the outside drivers? The 5 tries to look to the inside, but King is clear. They're 3 wide for second. Scott Marie gonna get clear for second place as well, but they're still side by side. Everybody's in the middle. 1 truck on top by 12. I think that was Ryan Mayer that just mounted Brandon Barnhart.
Man, I didn't know the public transit at Crandon was that convenient. My man got a ride and a half as that front 2 started to get nose to tail, something we saw in the heats yesterday. Front 5 or 6 trucks settled down to try to get away from what is the washing machine, the blender of a lot of angry drivers there in the middle, especially a lot of those not in this top 20 in points, Josh, trying to get into the top split of the Super Sessions.
And how about this battle at the front now? Crystal King has the lead, but Scott Marie was just right on her back bumper when they were coming through Calamity Corner. Matag, Smith, and Salo, the top 5 as the mid-pack continues to grow. This front 2 trying to find some space and pull away. That was a battle between the 4 and the 13. Just Sean Smith and Brody Ducher just slammed each other going through turn 9.
Keep an eye on that number 4 truck. He had a great heat race yesterday, but got caught up in a lap 1 kerfuffle and had the DNF to his name. A driver that should already have his ticket cashed for that top 20. Keep an eye on the number 4 because he will be moving forward.
He's already started to move forward, and he's going to try and keep going that way. We're now in these pockets. Top 2 have pulled away, but it's about a half-second gap between those 2. Go back about another second, you'll find Matag and Sean Smith. Then you'll find that race for 5th that we were just focusing on there. But here's Matag, and here is Sean Smith, 3rd and 4th, racing their way through turn 4 and the gravel pit, going over the flyway jump next. That mid-pack behind trying to catch up to them. But how about King and Marie? They have checked out from the rest of the field, much like we've seen throughout the first couple of races this week.
Crystal King won the most preliminary races last year before getting into the Super Sessions, but unfortunately could not get it done when it mattered the most. Maybe this year it's the change of momentum that she needs to be able to step on the top step of the podium. She's still good, she's 5th in points, but it would be nice to have a win under her belt going into Saturday, as this conversation here is not over around Daniel Solo and company.
Tom Smith, Brody Ducher, Dennis Nicholson as well in this. He did not put down a qualifying lap start at P19. He is now up to P6 on the proceedings in that number 1 truck. More contact with this middle pack.
Big moment.
And we're almost around goes Sean Smith. He has to save that thing. Got cattywampus over the whoops, and now we're on board with Don MacArthur as Sean Smith's about to go outside the top 10.
We got a term in hockey called soft hands. Soft hands to save that truck and keep it pointed straight using the four-wheel drive. But again, you have to be able to keep momentum. These heat races are not long enough to make big mistakes and recover from them. Don MacArthur now trying to capitalize, but there's a battle happening behind him. There are battles all over this racetrack, and that's what makes Crandon such a venue, a coliseum for this kind of war as it starts to settle down here towards the middle. Again, the more they fight, Josh, the less chance they have of improving position. The truck's ahead. That's why they call it Calamity Corner. Contact now, trying to get it settled. They end up all pointing directly straight, but it's still over. We have one almost on their roof.
Miles Morris just went for a bicycle. He got the save, but he's down to P18. This mid-pack is where all this beating and banging, all these body fenders are going to be flown. The 14 almost went around, got saves not once, but twice. That was Raymond Podoin that just ended up saving that truck. He's got Chris Leone right there in the 17, Keenan, who sees the 15 sliding it through Cowboy.
Chris tries to get the inside line there. He doesn't get the block pass, though, so he's not able to shut down Patrick Truchet, who was able to use the berm, get that truck rotated. It looks a lot more violent than it is, but now he's to the outside of Potawatomi. Not the nicest place to be, but if anyone knows Chris Leone, especially all the events he runs, all the endurance races he runs here, he knows how to put a line in a big block pass for the 17.
Listen, we talked a lot about Chris Leone in qualifying, not putting down the best lap at a 1:17. He is up 2 spots from where he began the race in P16, and he's trying to make a move on Ryan Mayer ahead, throws a slider in, but Leone settles for P14 for the moment. He's still trying to move forward and still has a couple more opportunities, at least in the heat, before we get into the big feature race.
Contact there for Ryan Mayer to the inside wall. You saw Chris make a little bit of an adjustment. Now Mike King and Raymond Boudreau have entered the conversation. That's the kind of thing here in Crandon. You make one mistake and it just opens the door up for everybody behind you to be able to capitalize as this battle's still not over. One truck down to the inside now. Yep.
Just sent that slider in for the forward to Ducher, and it worked. That is where everybody's trying to make those positions work, is trying to send them through Cowboy. That's the easiest place to kind of do what we see in sprint cars, we see in late models. Slide job up the inside, park it on the apex, then drive away. Replay of Miles Morris on the bottom of your screen now. The 7 sent it into Calamity Corner on the back bumper of the 14. I believe it just got a little bit tight coming over the whoops. He slams the dirt, the 14 slams him, and Bicycle saved it. I don't know, I'm thinking about a 6.5 for the save. It didn't really require a whole lot of skill. It didn't feel like he just turned into it and he got it.
Man, if Miles Morris didn't have bad luck this week, he wouldn't have any luck at all. You kind of really can't lift for a wreck in Calamity Corner. Talked about it a bit yesterday. If there's a truck spun out in front of you, that sucks for them. If you lift, the 5 trucks behind you will not, and you're just going to be the next one to get run over. So Miles just not getting the luck of the draw. Luckily, this is just a heat. And we saw from Dennis Mickelson, starting up the back may not be as much of a disadvantage if you know how to pace yourself and know what you're doing. And Josh, we've seen those land rush starts get way more aggressive in the features.
We're only just going to see the aggression start to rinse up and up and up. Chris Leone lost the spot down to P15. He's got Mike King in the 11 behind. Let's see if he makes a move heading into Cowboy. Leone protects the spot. Around the outside goes the 11. Two very different lines, but it worked out for Leone. But now he's going to get eaten alive on the straightaway. Here comes Mike King to the right side.
I'm sure that's not what Leone meant to do, but that was actually the best example of what a traditional racing line is versus what works at Crandon. He went tight to the inside there, trying to do the traditional apex, but because there's that banking, Mike King was able to go in deeper, get the run out of the corner, straight line exit, carry way more speed than what is the biggest straight here at Crandon. As again, all is fair and love in short course. A little bit of rubbing never hurt nobody.
On board now with Chris Leone, looking at the back of the number 17 as he tries to protect now. P16, Miles Morse is behind him. How aggressive is Miles going to be here? Already almost got into an accident. He looks to the inside in Calamity Corner. Leone goes a little bit wide. He gets in side by side, but Leone holds the spot to the white flag.
And we have not talked about that battle up front, because the battle, it really isn't. Just kind of staying consistent. Crystal King doing what she does best, getting out front to clear air, turning some clean laps, and that truck looks pristine. No issues for Crystal today, this morning, as she will, unless there's an explosion in the middle of the racetrack, probably take her first heat win of the event this week. Again, she was dominant in the week sessions last year and just could not get it done on the Saturday when it mattered. I wonder now if 2025 is the difference maker for that 278 factory sim sport machine.
A 2-second lead at the front as well. Here's where the mid-pack is going to finish here, trying to set the field for the feature. Nobody too aggressive until that one truck decided to run everybody else out of the way. That was Brody Ducher that gets by everybody in that group. And Crystal King walks away with your heat race win.
Yeah, and then this quad is not done. As that's Brody Ducher up in the front positions there. Told to look out for him. That's a driver that we expected to already be qualified and isn't. So he set himself up great for that feature race, as this will now be the qualifying order for the feature. As we said, Crystal King and Scott Merritt kind of were off left to their own devices there towards the front. Nice job to be able to get those first two. Drake Batag rounding out your podium for the heat race. Dennis Mickelson from last to fourth place, showing that maybe, qualifying towards the back, not ideal, Josh, but not the worst place to be, is Austin Schreiber also with a quiet race rounding out our top 5.
Sean Smith, Brody Ducher, Zach Blanche, Danny Salo, and Don MacArthur are going to round out the 10 drivers that will start on the front row in our feature race. Brandon Barnhart, Baxter Truchet, Mike King, Ray Boudoin, and the rest back from there, including Chris Leone, will be on the back of our grid for the feature.
Again, the heats have usually been pretty calm, all things considered, compared to the features, but that one still, there wasn't nothing happening. Obviously, towards the front, we've kind of seen the top 5 or 6 trucks kind of go, well, we have some pace difference, guys. Let's not do anything silly. Let's get away from all the drivers that maybe didn't get the best qualifying runs or are making some very desperate moves. And then, towards the middle, there's some desperate moves.
That's what we're seeing in the mid-pack. I think we saw Crystal King pull away at the front, and all good on her part. Everybody else back from there just getting desperate, trying to run through the mid-pack and get as much as they can through that mid-pack. That is where you make their moves. That's where you do those battles, is through the mid-pack at Crandon.
And speaking of the mid-pack at Crandon, I think we're going to talk to our in-race correspondent, Chris Leone, once again. Chris, you moved up there, but you weren't alone, throwing some sliders, banging some doors. How was it out there?
Yeah, at some point towards the end of these races at Crandon, you have to start managing incident points. We only get 17 of them. These trucks are very forgiving, and there are a lot of different, there are a lot of different contacts that will 0x, but it's very easy to 2x. And towards the end of that race, the 2Xs started piling up because you had some guys that made some mistakes, and I kind of had to drive to manage that a little bit. I mean, I heard you talking about, I took a more traditional racing line at one point, and that was genuinely mirror driving because I knew that if the guy behind me sent it in a little too hard, we were going to be in trouble for those last 2 laps. So that is part of the chess match that I talked about with Crandon yesterday, is it's like figure skating as a sumo wrestler in a lot of ways. There are a lot of different things you need to manage, but those incident points can really tally up.
If you want to join this chess match, you can head on over to iRacing.com today. It's only Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. We still have 3 races left to go before those fields for the Super Sessions are decided. Head on over to iRacing.com today, whether it's asphalt, dirt, or anything in between. Join the service and start your sim short course career today. And big throws, big battles there, and something we talked about, and not to throw more salt in his wound, but we had our number 2 qualifier so far, Dane Culver, get disqualified from last night's race for a little bit too many of those 2X moments, as Chris was saying. Something you have to keep in mind if you do want to take the checkered flag. Obviously, the best time to do it is the heats, but like we said, we have 3 more races, Josh, 3 more opportunities, and we still have today's feature to be able to punch your ticket for the Super Sessions on Saturday.
Feature is where those points are made, and we of course have tonight as well at 9, tomorrow again at 11, tomorrow again at 9, and then we have our 2 Super Sessions that'll be on Saturday. But here's your results from the heat race. This will be your grid for the feature. Crystal King back in that first spot. She is staring at a perfect event if she can get the pole, the heat race win, and the feature race win. She's got to get through 10 laps here, though, with some of the best in iRacing short course to be able to make that happen.
We've seen the patterns all week, Josh. Watch those top 5 start to get a little bit racier as you see some drivers like Zach Blanche, Brody Duscher, try to fight their way up. Miles Morse said nothing but bad luck, I'm sure, is eventually going to take the mask off and start joining the ruckus. And Chris Leone obviously knows he's got a camera on him, so he needs to do something cool to get on the broadcast. That's his only chances. He's got his 5 minutes of fame here. So make it interesting. Do a cool flip or something, Chris.
I want to see Chris Leone try a backflip.
He can do it.
Try to find a way to do a backflip on the track, not in real life, even though in real life it would also be entertaining.
I do not want to see Chris blow out his lower lumbar here live in the studio as we get ready for Barney to send us for our first feature of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crandon. Welcome to the chaos as we start our first feature here of our sessions here today. Crystal King, not the best start as we are too wide door to door, and here's where it's going to happen. If there's a wreck, it's coming right now here to Potawatomi Turn 1.
Mike King did not get started. He was caught eating a sandwich at the line, and now Scott Mariekson go to the inside, trying to get the lead away from Crystal King, who loses a ton of time on the jump. She got cattywampus coming on the way.
Oh, big wreck!
Big incident. The 19 up and into the air. That's Wade Sheedy.
It's funny how the momentum does things. Crystal King gets shipped wide. There's a truck watch they have to bring, and it was all an accordion effect from there. There's your pole sitter going from first to 7th. She's got work to do, and she's already got an inside 3 wide coming into Calamity Corner as we officially start our race 3 wide for the lead.
Being wide Calamity Corner, as its name, Dennis Nicholson to the inside walks away with the race lead. Scott Mariek, who has shown some great speed so far today, is trying to get from second now, looking to the inside. Drake Matag's there as well. We have a 3-way fight for the lead, and a 6-way wreck in the mid-pack. The 13 goes off and into the grass. I believe Zach Blanche was caught up in that as well. He was. Back to Cowboy, battle for the lead, goes to Matag, but Marigo on the inside gets the lead away.
There's a huge conversation on the exit of the Cowboy Corner. I can't believe it took us all this time to see our first rollover of the week. but door to door, bumper to bumper now is Scott Merrick and Drake Matag. We talked to him a little bit about him in qualifying. Big set to the inside of Ponzi turn 2. He's not going to be able to get it done, but will he have the run in the gravel pit as Dennis Mickelson, the #1 truck, licking his chops back there in third.
Side by side, still for the lead. Matag sends one in. That's going to invite Marique to go back to the inside to try and do the crossover. He does. Back to side by side, over the flyaway jump. Outside to inside is what Marique's going to have to try and do. We're on board with Matag as Marique gives a friendly left tap from behind. Dennis Mickelson in the 41. Watch him. He's there as well.
If you're Scott in the 5 truck, how hard do you race? We saw this time and time again. If these top 3 argue a little bit too long, that's going to bring Duscher, King, Barnhart, and everybody behind them into this conversation. They have to be careful. They have to be intelligent. We still have lots of race left to go, even though it's about 8 laps remaining here at Crandon. Why argue this early? How hungry do you think you are, and how far away do you think you can pull ahead? I think it's Mickelson with a big move to the inside.
Side by side again as they work their way over the whoops. Update on Crystal King. You can see that 278 back there. She's side by side for 4th. Great rebound from her, and she still has a bit of time to try and get up to this front 3. But this is a 3-way battle for the race lead as you look back on the race for 4th. Crystal King's got a lot of chasers behind her. The 12 trying to look up the inside.
Oh, good Lord!
Somebody just flipped into the wall. Was that Boudoin?
I think it may have been. He just joined everybody in the grandstands watching the race. He's been able to get a thing of popcorn. Big wreck for that machine as we have battles all over the racetrack that very much are important. Mickelson got shuffled from 1st to 3rd, back again, as I believe that's Drake Matag now back to the point, as Crystal King gets shuffled from her position in 5th, back to 6th place as Barnhart, somebody who's on near around that bubble, trying to get their way into the top 20, currently 28th in points. This would be a huge finish for him.
Race for the lead still on with Matag now in the lead. That was an insane wreck from Raymond Boudoin in the 14. But looking back to the action on track right now, here's your battle for the lead and almost contact for the race lead. Dennis Mickelson with a huge send with the 41 up the inside to try and get 2nd place, but he almost made contact with Drake Matag for 1st.
Josh, we just talked about this 1 lap ago. Drake Matag has had about a third, or maybe 2/3 of a lap of clean air. As we jump onto a replay from that big crash, I believe it may have been Mike King. Maybe it was Max Touche, but big flip over the fence. He's able to keep it going, of Boudoin, but still holding on to 13. So what is going on towards the back of the field? Lots of calamity here towards the back, but this battle for 2nd is not over, and it's only been about a lap. Josh, look at the gap now from a tag in P1.
We were on board there in that wreck, by the way. Raymond Boudoin, who we thought it was that went flipping. It was exactly him that went flipping, and he is, funny enough, still on the racetrack, still running forward and still running P13 on the track. It is not wild that these drivers can flip, get damaged, continue to run. Sometimes you might end up with some aero damage, but the majority of these trucks still running just fine with body panels flying off.
We'll say, speak of the devil, Chris Leone yesterday saying if the truck still has all 4 wheels on it, do not stop racing because you never know what happens. You see the driver now who's fighting for 15th, is now fighting for a top 10. Miles Morris now has found a little bit of luck. He's in 9th place. And Daniel Solo, who seems to be at the center of all of these arguments in the midfield, is once again at the center of it as he's got Chris Leone to the outside. Be careful, Daniel. That's an employee. He knows where your account details are.
I think he's gonna, if something goes wrong, he's gonna be the first to not even submit a protest request. He's gonna personally go in to the protests at the office and file a formal complaint in person on paper.
Yeah, you have to set a bouquet or flowers at your doorstep. We are just joking. This is just, don't worry about it. As door-to-door, Chris Leone now trying to defend against Daniel Mamede, as that's just going to open the gap for Solo and Boudoin. Boudoin, of course, didn't drop out of the session, Josh, but these trucks do take damage. A lot of this visual damage doesn't do much. But even Chris talked about it yesterday. The axle can move around. You can get wheel damage. It is going to cost you time and speed. Mostly, it'll cost you sight bite. You won't be able to go into these corners as fast as you used to. As Chris actually showing off a great example of that. It's like he can hear me.
Yeah, it's like he's in the room with you almost, Keenan. That's crazy. But Podu is going to get to the inside now. As 14 continues to run on the racetrack. Leone up top, on top of 2 wide.
Oh my good lord!
Who is that? Was that Zach Blanche?
I think that was Zach Blanche. He's got nothing to lose right now. Again, I believe he is your 20th truck, so he needs positions, and he needs them now. Again, battles all over the racetrack. There obviously is a fight for the win. There's a fight for podium spots, but points. That will be the narrative until we hit Saturday. Big air here going into pontoon turn 2 as we hit a hip check. This is not over by a long shot.
In what other discipline of racing can you see a move that Zach Blanche just made, and A, people aren't yelling at him on the in-game voice chat, and B, he can keep running? Asphalt oval, no. Sports car, no. Formula car, no. Dirt oval, depends on the car you're running. But in off-road, you can make that work. That was an insane move from Blanche that ultimately didn't work in trying to get him to move forward, but at the very least, his truck's still good. Everyone around him is still good. He didn't take anybody out either.
Something we got to talk about too, Josh. Again, we've sitting there. We're going to have paired the narrative of points, but 2 of these trucks involved in this battle, which would be Ryan Mayer and Daniel Solo, are not currently scored in the top 34. They're trying to fight their way into either top split, second split there on Saturday. So all these positions are super, super valuable to them. As we jump onto, again, more trucks that are not in that conversation, John MacArthur, and unfortunately, after that great first run, going to be dropped back. Daniel Mamie's back there. It's Zach Blanche, again, who needed a good run today. We may have to see him tonight to try to make up some points as the battle for P4 heats up. Tale as old as time. Crystal King trying to hang on to his Brody Duscher behind her, giving her a hard time.
They're on board now, looking off the back of Crystal King in the 278. You can see behind as Duscher trying to get to the inside in Calamity Corner. Can't get there in time. Drake Matag, similar to Crystal King in the first race, checked out. He's out front in the lead. No issues there. Marique and Mickelson fighting for P2. This is the next battle on back, fighting for P4 as King keeps the spot on Duscher. Can Duscher set up anything going into Cowboy?
I think I pronounced Brody's name 15 different times this race. I'm sure I'm going to get a DM from him after, as there is a big dive from Mickelson, as you said, fighting for P2. Duscher, Matag's up front, just smiling, seeing what's happened behind him, but Mickelson's got to make something happen as Merrick's trying to hang on to P2. This is the battle for second place.
The battle for second is on as the battle for fourth has changed hands. Duscher to fourth, King now to fifth. Here's this battle for second place as Matag sees everything going on in his rearview mirror, loves to see the side-by-side, loves to see the slide jobs made. Marique trying to clear him. Dennis Mickelson now on the inside, that 41 truck. Watch that red and white machine trying to get around to the inside as they'll swap back for Calamity Corner, side-by-side over the flyweight jump.
Mickelson's basically the final boss of iRacing officials. If you ever see a fast truck somewhere who's got speed on the field, and 10 times out of 10, it's Dennis. He's trying to prove that he could do more than that in a really competitive field. Ends up tagging the wall there to the inside. That's going to cost him some time, but he still has more than enough time. About 3 laps remaining to try to mount another attack on that number 5 machine.
He's going to try to mount another attack in Cowboy, I think, because Matag way ahead of the road right now. They enter into Cowboy. You're on board.
Really
Mickelson, the center to the inside. Slight door contact. I think that was slightly too much. He ended up losing the back end of the truck. Now lost a ton of momentum. Lost about a second in that preceding 2.
That's the difference between the heat and the feature. The sidewalls, these tires wear down. You don't have as much grip going into these hairpins, and if you don't back up your corners, the top of Cowboy, Josh, is flat. You drop a tire over there, you basically come to a stop. That happened with both of them, but Mickelson got the worst of it. He's going to drop back. He's got to close about 7/10 of a second if he wants something to happen now, as this battle for fourth is not over. Brody Duscher right behind Crystal King. She goes wide to go for the cut. Brody goes, "Thank you, ma'am. I'll take that." Can he close it off? Yes, he can. That is Duscher to this fourth place position. Crystal King now going to have to see if she can get back around.
Flyway jump to Calamity Corner. King can't make anything happen there. Now they've got a mirror full of Austin Schieber, who is there now in this battle as well. Don't count out Brandon Barnhart. He's there as well, a little bit back in P7. But with 2 laps to go, we jump on board of Miles Morris. who is fighting in the mid-pack, even more so mid-pack than what we were just on. Bodewin in front, Daniel Salo, Sean Smith, Ryan Mayer all within this group.
That's crazy. That truck in front of you was upside down and looked like it was going to the hot dog stand at one point. And Miles Morris, like we said earlier, the team Watson Racing Machine, if it looked like it had no luck, it would have no luck at all. I don't think one panel on that truck is as it was started. We got one missing on the left, the hood's dented, the fender on the right's hanging on by a thread. What a war it's been, and what a war it's been all week. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first race, welcome to the Crandon International Raceway.
It'll be white flag this time, Bob. As what has happened here? Matag's going into the pits, Keenan.
That is out of fuel. This is a fuel stop. What a mistake for the 6 machine running probably the heat setup instead of the feature setup. The battle for the win is now wide open. Merrick and Mickelson are fighting over it. And only 2 seconds back, you have Duscher and King. We enter our white flag lap. 1 lap to go. What a heartbreaker for Matag.
This isn't a battle for second place anymore. This isn't a battle for points. This is a battle for the win at Crandon in a feature. We do think it's fuel. There was no penalty assigned to Drake Matag. Ran the heat setup. They'll run as much fuel as they need for however many laps they are running to save weight. He did not have enough fuel in the thing. Mickelson's trying to send it in on Scott Marique, but as they go over the whoops, Marique's going to have the advantage. He has the mirror behind. He can play defense. Mickelson's going to have to be on offense in the number 41. Just a couple of corners to go, Keenan, before we get a feature race win.
Here we go. Michelson's going to have to pick and choose his point. If he wants to get a run, he's got to show the nose here, and he does. Does he go to the inside or run to the outside with Merrick? Merrick has been the bridesmaid all week. Can he be the bride? Michelson to the inside. He shows the fender, moves him a little bit up, but it's not over. It's going to be decided once again in Calamity Corner. Are we going to get one of those classic Crandon Championship finishes? Michelson to the outside, Merrick to the inside, goes for the crossover. Merrick says no. He's in the wall. Are they going to be able to get over the line? Just barely. Merrick in a barn burner here in Thursday morning.
Merrick just absolutely said, no, sir. He parked it on the apex, literally. He said, you're not getting by me today for that feature race win. The 5 truck goes to victory lane at Crandon in a thrilling finish.
What a sequence in the last couple of laps. Matag under fueling. That's a heartbreaker for him. He needed a good finish. He's only 13th in points right now, but somebody who also needed a good finish is Scott Merrick, your 25th seed coming into this race, getting a huge win. That's going to set him up, and for the rest of the week, Dennis Michelson doing everything he tried to do. Unfortunately, Merrick saw the move coming, parked the apex, and was able to get away with the win. Brody Descher was able to take the last step on the podium, but unfortunately for Crystal King, all of that speed just got unlucky off the start, and with P4. And Austin Schreiber, again, another quiet race and another solid P5 finish.
Brendan Barnhart, Sean Smith, Ryan Mayer, Danny Salo, Ray Bodewin, who flipped and ended up in a top 10. Again, where else but off-road, where else but Crandon? And you see a truck completely flip over, roll multiple times, and continue off and into a top 10.
Yeah, again, just like Chris said, you can't give up driving. And speaking of not giving up, Miles Morrison improving his position. Was almost able to crack that top 10. Unfortunately, just didn't quite get there. Zach Blanche with issues early. Matag, obviously running out of fuel, was still able to salvage it for a P14, but that's not the result he was looking for. And then Chris Leone, 15th. Daniel Meme, 16th. And then we have some trucks with some major issues. Truchet, King, and Sheedy will round out your 19. But Josh, yesterday the morning race was a little bit calmer than the evening. Kind of hard to say that with everything happening, especially again in the last 3 laps. Just what a finish for that race.
All I've been watching is 3 races at Crandon, 3 events, a part of the Crandon Championship, and 3 exciting feature race finishes. Keenan and Chris Leone might have been in the middle of it. He finished P15.
Yeah, I think he's proud of himself because he just took a picture of the screen. But Chris, I wouldn't be too proud. You finished behind a truck that flipped.
That's
but what was that like from your perspective?
That's not what I took the picture of, Arrow. I took the picture of my safety rating getting cut in half from that race. You know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I had one driver on me that just didn't really have any patience about making passes, and I got most of my incident points used up. And again, you know, sometimes you just got to manage what you're doing in the truck. Do you want to continue running the race, or do you want to defend the position early on? And I just tried to find a place to let him go because I could see how he was driving, and forced the issue about 5 times in 2 laps until I could finally find a place to let him by. So the fact that I am top 15 and a top split is still fantastic. I was not this good 2 years ago, and you know that because you shared a racetrack with me a lot. So
Sure did.
This in and of itself is a minor miracle.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. There was a couple of Discords I jumped in last night to kind of see what the vibe was, and everybody was posting RIP SR memes. So I think a lot of people grinded safety rating to come in and be able to take those tanks. But again, middle of the pack, there was a lot going on in the front. What were you trying to do now to be able to capitalize on all of those mistakes?
I mean, really, it is about being patient. I know we talk about, oh, it's only a 6-lap heat. Oh, it's only a 10-lap final. That is an eternity, guys. It really is. You know, it is still a 13, 14, 15-minute race, and when you are in the truck, it feels a lot longer. You know, I think a lot of people get time anxiety about those small lap counts, but really, you have all the time in the world if you are in the mid-pack to be able to set up passes, to be able to make moves. You know, just play patient. Don't use up those incident points. Play your cards close to your chest. You don't need to force it in all the time. But either way, you know, it's a blast running these things. It is a fun, unique challenge to have to try to manage everybody else's anxiety levels on the track and still try to put in good, fast, clean, consistent laps. It's one of the things I love about off-road racing. It is a very difficult skill to master, but it's a blast. It's some of these drivers are the best sim racing off-road drivers in the world, some of the best sim racers in the world, period, as far as I'm concerned. So just cool to share a track with them and be able to do some in-car stuff and hopefully put on a bit of a show. I didn't roll, though, so I'll take that.
Some wise words there, Josh, from what I would say is Dirt Yoda. Trying to get everyone to calm down a little bit towards the back, but as we get closer to our cut line, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think anything is going to calm down as well as we go through the rest of this week. We just finished Thursday morning session number 1. We have another one tonight at 9 p.m. that I'm sure everybody that was tuning in for this one, you better make sure that you're tuning in for tonight. Tomorrow's 2 as well. Then the super sessions on Saturday. If you thought yesterday's 2 and this morning's feature was exciting, I don't know what we're going to see in the super sessions, Keenan, because they're racing just for points to get into the super session, and they're racing this hard.
Again, it's a lot of the same trucks driving all week. So what we normally see, Josh, is a lot of storylines start to develop. And you can keep up with those storylines on our iRacing social media channels and keep up with our points and see who will be your top 20 qualifiers for our super sessions on Saturday. But a lot of times you'll see stories start to develop, either drivers improving, drivers falling behind, drivers getting desperate to try to make it. And I think what we could take out of this one, of course, is that Scott Merrick went from P nowhere to up to the first win of his Crandon Championship career. Crystal King is the queen of consistency, and unfortunately, Matag is still going to look for that big result to score him a top 10 finish.
This win the Matag, the almost win that he had was going to save him a lot of points, and unfortunately P14 is just going to put him on the back burner for the remainder of the weekend. But Scott Marique able to just kind of slide his way into a win here, as there's the roll from Boduin and a top 10 finish for Boduin as well. And if you want to get on track, race at Crandon, race in the Crandon Championship, get online now, iRacing.com. Learn how to start your iRacing career. Whether you want to race dirt road like these guys, whether you want to race dirt oval, anything on asphalt, iRacing has it all.
It was not the only Limp Bizkit fan. We had a lot of rolling out there, and I don't think that's the end of it, especially with how committed and how fast and how aggressive this racing has to be. I mean, again, this is one of the most, just looking at the points from before this race started, the gap is getting closer and closer and closer, and it's only going to get more aggressive, more competitive, and more desperate, Josh, as we enter tonight, Friday, and get closer to that Saturday cutoff point.
I think exactly what you're saying. The aggression is only going to get worse as we go on. And when drivers need more points, how about drivers outside of the top 20 that want to race in a broadcasted split? It is not every day that iRacing Off-Road gets its top step on the iRacing Esports Network. How badly do drivers want to be in the top splits of the super sessions? They're going to have to get those points and get them now.
The book of the 2025 Crandon Championship has finished its next chapter, but we are getting ever so closer to that epilogue. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time to see what happens. We were in for a treat last night. Let's see if we can meet the fight on Wednesday night's expectations here on Thursday. Again, 9 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. The big dogs come out to play on our second session here for our Thursday running of Crandon Championship. On behalf of the entire iRacing broadcast team, Chris Leone for our correspondent on the dirt, and for Joshua Lee, my name is Keenan Kuzin. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you in the pit tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.